So last week, I said in my live stream that I was going to take a break at some stage because I was feeling a little bit frazzled covering the news. It has been pretty hectic. And on Thursday, I saw this. And at this stage, I thought, yeah, I really need to get the hell out of here straight away, because Nick Robinson tweeted this out. He said, "I've heard it all now. The Brexit Secretary has just voted against the motion that he'd just been arguing for. Has anyone get a better word than omnishambles?" To be honest, I think you would need to make a new word up for whatever Brexit is now. A clusterfuckathon, a clusterfuck that just keeps going on and on and on. I think that's yeah, my word for it. But at that stage, as I said, this is the state of politics in the country, which is holding another country's gold hostage because they don't think their democracy is quite up to scratch. And obviously I'm talking about Venezuela there, and the Bank of England withholding £1.2 billion worth of their gold, I think, just because, hey, they don't think their democracy is up to scratch. And I said I'm going away for a couple of days because there is no way I can cover this probably without screaming at the screen and bursting blood vessels, and there really wouldn't have been. That's just, it's pathetic. It went on and on and on last week, and it's still gone on into this week, and thankfully this guy has put an end to this nonsense that has been going on. Yesterday he put an end to it by the look of it. They're still talking about it now, but for those of you that need a little bit of a catch-up as to the events that have led up to today, let's try and cover it as best way as I can, because this is preposterous. It really is. Theresa May has tried to get through a dead pallet as the agreement with the EU to leave the European Union in an orderly Brexit, so they say. And she tried to present this dead pallet to the House of Commons on, in December. Back in December, she tried to present this dead pallet, and Parliament said, we're not going to vote on that. If you put that forward, we're going to have to vote it down by a colossal amount, because if you put that forward, we're going to vote it down. It is a dead pallet. She said, okay, well, I'll go away and I'll try and come up with something else. And then in January, she comes back with the same dead pallet and tries to pass it through. And obviously, the House of Commons said, I'm afraid, Prime Minister, that's a dead pallet. Although it convinced some people somehow that it was a Brexit. Obviously, it's a no Brexit dead pallet. And they said, go away and try again. And then she came back in March with the same dead pallet with a piece of paper attached to it that's saying that this is a non-binding agreement. Says this is not a dead pallet. It's preposterous, but this is basically what has happened, and it looks like she was going to try again for a fourth time to try and get this dead pallet passed through Parliament and try and bully people into choosing this no Brexit if people want a Brexit, and saying that this is the only option, and of which obviously John Bercow, as you can see here, this is what the papers are full of today, and there's lots of talk of him in the papers and on Twitter, because he finally told Theresa May, I'm afraid, the pallet is dead. It's passed on. It's no more. It's ceased to be. It has expired and gone on to meet its maker. This Prime Minister is an ex-pallet. So finally he stepped in, and she can't keep presenting now this dead pallet to Parliament without it obviously radically changing from a dead pallet into something other. So you would think that everybody would say that John Bercow is a hero, wouldn't you? You would think that, you know, he's a hero, and everybody is obviously very happy that he stepped in. Well, not so much, because this was what he was subjected to this morning on his walk into work. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is the BBC, believe it or not, that are doing this, because it's out on the BBC and they haven't said it's good. They haven't credited it to anybody else. So I'm assuming this is a BBC reporter doing this to John Bercow because he stepped in. and told Theresa May, you can't keep trying to present this thing to Parliament that is not Brexit, that's a no Brexit Brexit without it radically changing. And this is what he gets subjected to this morning.
How do you explain to the public what you did yesterday, Mr. Bercow? It was a very old precedent.
Does it matter if it's an old precedent or not?
You said in January that... Mr. Bercow, you said...
I really feel you ought to get yourself some coffee or tea. I did offer to buy you all coffee and tea, but you declined my kind offer.
Can I just say here, just the way he handles this is absolutely brilliant. He's a gentleman, the guy is. I'm not sure I would have the patience to respond to these reporters who are basically doorstepping him here, let's face it, on his way to work. I'm not sure I could respond in the same gentlemanly manner that he has, but I'll carry it. Just listen to what he was subjected to this morning.
But you've obviously already drunk lots of coffee or tea, and I wish you well. It's a very, very impressive bobble hat you're wearing there. Or perhaps not a bobble hat, but a hat of sorts. Anyway, I'm sure people are so very grateful to you for showing such an interest at this time of the morning.
People are very interested in the story, Mr. Bercow.
Very well done.
You said in January that Parliament can't rely on old precedents, Mr. Bercow.
Careful, careful. There are cars coming along here. I'm not going to sacrifice myself for your benefit. I know that you attach great weight to what you think, but perhaps you'd be kind enough to allow me to proceed.
How do you explain...
I know you attach great weight to what you think. That's a great... I'm going to have to remember that one.
Your decision
Very good of you to do so.
Okay.
Very well done.
Lots of people are annoyed at this decision. What would you reply to that? Are you trying to delay Brexit? Postpone it? You said in January that Parliament can't only rely on precedent. This is a very old precedent. 17th century one. What made you choose to dig it up yesterday, Mr. Bercow? Do you think it's the right decision? What next for Brexit, Mr. Bercow?
Perhaps, gentlemen, you'd allow me to proceed to work. Thank you. And I wish you a good day. Thank you very much indeed.
It's funny, isn't it? They only go after politicians when they're actually going against something that the establishment wants. The normally friendly right-wing press would never do that to one of their own, would they? They finally do it when the guy has stepped in, actually on behalf of the nation, really, to stop this absolute nonsense carrying on. He's had a kicking this morning, an absolute kicking in the media. I mean, this is just a few of the headlines. This is from Juliet Brown. Tory press angry and inciting hatred against a man who is doing his job. Bercow has legitimately and rightly said that MPs can't vote for a third time on the basically same deal. Why would we want them to, and why the hysteria? This is just a selection of the newspapers. Bollocks to Bercow, said the scum. Didn't realise that was here, otherwise I wouldn't have shown that, by the way. I don't usually show the sun on this scum on this channel. The Brexit destroyer, said the Daily Express. The Brexit destroyer they go with. Nothing there for the first time in, I think, 20 years about Princess Diana. Even not Princess Diana off the front page. Smirk that says Brexit be damned, said the Daily File. And of course, Bercow is sabotaging Brexit deal. Days number 10. So they've all come out, obviously in unison against him. And that's what happens if you do things, you know, on behalf of the country in Westminster. This is an absolute joke. Because it's not like John Bercow didn't actually suggest that he was going to do this, you know, guys. He said he did, and I want to give a shout out to Rick Crawley here, who spotted this, because he said clearly many people weren't paying attention. The House of Commons 5 days ago. John Bercow gave plenty of warning. This is on March the 19th, so this is 5 days ago. And he told the House that he was going to do this if Theresa May kept bringing the deal back to the House of Commons. Take a listen.
Point of order, Angela Eagle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Secretary of State has just made it clear that the government's intention is to keep putting the same deal back to the House over and over and over again, even though it's been decisively defeated twice now, possibly ad infinitum. Isn't that out of order?
There are historical precedents for the way in which such matters are regarded. I don't need to treat of them now, and no ruling is required now. There may be people who have an opinion about it. I'm not really preoccupied with that, but a ruling would be made about that matter at the appropriate time, and I'm grateful to the Right Honourable Lady for reminding me that such a ruling might at some point in the future be required. Secretary of State.
So as you can hear there, he said this. He said he was going to do this. He warned. John Bercow did. He warned he was going to do this, and there is a law. You can't keep bringing the same deal back over and over again, especially when the clock is ticking as it is, because Thursday will mark, believe it or not, Thursday this week, Thursday the 21st, I believe, this of March 2019, will mark 1,000 days having passed since the result of the last referendum. Just think about that. 1,000 days have passed since the day after the last referendum will have passed on Thursday this week. 1,000 days since that date. The Eiffel Tower was built in less time than that. The Chrysler Building was built in less time than that. The Empire State Building was built in less time than 1,000 days. The Burj Khalifa Hotel in Dubai, I believe, was built in less time than they have done, than that has passed since we voted to leave the European Union in the referendum. They have written, filmed, and are just about to put out on air the final season of Game of Thrones in much less than 1,000 days. That will come out next month, April the 9th. They've done all that in 1,000 days. So after 1,000 days, where are we? After 1,000 days, well, as far as a deal goes, we're exactly where we were 998 days ago. Exactly, as far as a deal goes. With 10 days to go until Brexit, until we leave. Now, Theresa May has got a mandate from the Houses of Parliament to go to the EU and ask for an extension of Article 50. I believe the latest is she's going to ask for an extension of 3 months until June the 30th. Yeah, June the 30th, that'll be 3 months. But it could be extended for up to 2 years. So it could be 5 years it would take, and there's no doubt, there's no obviously guarantee that after 5 years we'll leave. And of course, all 27 EU member countries, member states, have to agree to this extension. Now, I can't see them not, because it would be bad for the EU, but who's to say that a state might be pissed off at the United Kingdom or pissed off at the EU and want to throw a spanner in the works? You know, the United Kingdom, for instance, have been meddling in Spanish politics recently with getting rid of the Integrity Initiative, following Commonwealth-funded Mockingbird-like operation, meddling in their politics, stopping Pedro Baños becoming the director of intelligence over there in Spain because, of all things, he'd appeared on RT and Sputnik. Maybe Spain would say, nah, balls to them. Or maybe Greece would go, hey, you know what? Sod it. We say no just because the EU wants an extension. After the way they've been treated, who could blame them? So if that were to happen, and we leave, because the default is we leave at the end of this month in 10 days' time, if that were to happen, then the people would get pretty much close to what they voted for. They have called this obviously a crashing out and a no-deal Brexit, propagandising it, making it as toxic as possible, because they don't want to give you it, of course. But even if that happens, it's got its massive drawback, in that a no-deal Brexit, or a Brexit under WTO rules, as I like to call it, it doesn't solve the Northern Ireland border issue, and that obviously may either cause a resurgence of the troubles in Northern Ireland or the breakup of the United Kingdom. So this is something that they have to think about. And the chances are the EU will grant an extension. A 3-month extension, maybe up to 2 years, which is what Theresa May is asking for. Meaning another 2 years of May trying to pass off a different dead animal, I suppose, as an exit agreement from the EU, because, like I say, they don't want to give you Brexit because it will possibly lead up to the breakup of the United Kingdom. They don't want to do that. Think of that. And obviously Theresa May will say it's either that, her no Brexit dead animal, or possibly no Brexit at all with a referendum, which is what I've said all along will probably lead to an extension and another referendum. At least one, I said. And that's what will happen in that time. All the time they will kick the can down the road as far as they can, just as they have in the last 3 years. Propagandizing us and scaring the public into thinking that Brexit will mean the end of the world and the skies will crumble and the seas will roar and the mountains will crash and the volcanoes will spew and the wind will blow and all manner of disasters will happen. But of course, the people who are saying these things and pretending that they know the future have never been right in the past, but all of a sudden what they say is absolute gospel. So we're going to have that for another 2 years, another 2 years of demonising whatever is close to Brexit, because like I say, they don't want to give you Brexit. And all the time, they know that public unrest is obviously getting worse, because people know that if they do extend Article 50 and there's another referendum and we don't get a Brexit eventually, then essentially what they will be saying to people is democracy in the United Kingdom is irrelevant. What's the point of having the largest democratic vote in history if you're not actually going to implement it at all, and you're just going to decide, no, they were wrong, we know better. But here's the thing, they've proved that already. We don't need to crash out in a no-deal Brexit. They've already proved. Just look at this. 17.4 million people voted to leave, 16.1 million voted to remain. By constituency, 406 voted to leave, 242 voted remain. By constituency and party, Labour, 148 leave, 84 remain. Conservative, not 247 leave, 80 remain. And obviously by region, 9 said leave, 3 remain. So you would think that it's pretty easy to get through a consensus here. You think it's pretty easy to get on board and say, okay, the country wants Brexit. But right there at the bottom is your problem. By MP, 160 want leave, 486 remain. It's the MPs that are staying in, that are getting in the way of this. It's the MPs that are getting in the way of stopping Brexit, because they are beholden to the establishment, not you. Take my MP, for instance, Emma Reynolds. From all intents and purposes, I thought she was a great MP. But I live in the black country, in an area in the black country that's been devastated by globalisation, that's been devastated by neoliberalism with the EU and globalisation. And those jobs have gone elsewhere. And then those people who've seen those jobs go elsewhere have then seen an influx of cheap labour coming from Eastern Europe, and a load of gig economy jobs spring up. And they're sitting there thinking, hold on a minute, where's all these jobs in computer coding that you told us that we were going to get when you took our manufacturing jobs away? Do you remember? We're all going to be computer analysts. And they're pissed off. So the area I live in voted 2-1, almost, to leave. Emma Reynolds is one of those 486 MPs that are pushing for to remain, or pushing for a second referendum she's pushing for. I dare say if you live in a Leave constituency, the chances are your MP is one of them. It's getting in the bloody way as well. Maybe you should, let them know, because the MPs are proving in this country that voting is irrelevant. We told them to do something and they haven't done it. They haven't even tried to do it. They haven't tried to do it. This is not rocket science. It's a goddamn trade block. That's it. At least that's what you keep telling us. It's just a trade block. If it's just a trade block, why is it so bloody difficult to leave it? The MPs are blocking Brexit, and whatever happens, in 10 days' time, they know they are pissing people off big time. They know it. They can see the unrest in this country. They are not blind. And they can see how unhappy we are. And remember, it's all this twat's fault. It's all this twat's fault. He was the one who started the ball rolling on this. And when it comes to whose fault it is for delaying this, it's the MPs, and ultimately it's the party in power, the Conservatives. Don't let them point the finger of blame anywhere else. Just say, hey, it's your bloody fault. Don't try and pass the buck on anybody else. It's you, twatty Cameron, and your twatty party, who care more about clinging to power than they do about serving their constituents and the people of this country. They've forgotten it's the people of this country they are meant to serve. It's the people of this country who are their bosses. Yet they just go and do something that the people told them the opposite to do. If we can't even come out of a trading bloc after 3 years, what chance have we of learning to coexist with the planet instead of using it as a resource in 12? Just think about it. If after 3 years we can't exist as a trading bloc, what chance have we got of these idiots down in Westminster and in parliaments all over the world? What chance have we got of actually reversing the damage that we've done to this planet, which is suffocating our existence on it? What chance have we got? Absolutely none. That's 11 years now, says Nikki M, not 12. Absolutely. Time is ticking, and these idiots, I mean, they want another 2-year extension now. Are you kidding me? They want another, what, you think if she gets a 3-month extension, we're going to get a deal in 3 months? No, we're not. We're going to get another dead animal come back and another load of nonsense. We're just going to get another no Brexit versus possibly no Brexit at all option. That's what they're trying to, they're desperate to browbeat the public into voting the way that they want them to vote. So obvious. So obvious. I listen a lot to Mark Blythe. The stuff he said that I've listened to in the last couple of years has been absolutely bang on, and a lot of what he said has influenced my feelings with regards to what will happen with regards to Brexit. And so far we've been right, and a lot of it was based on videos that I saw him do 2 or 3 years ago. And he says that the ECB is 3 times the size the Fed was in 2008 and twice as leveraged. Now, I don't know what that means, but Mark Blythe says it's pretty bad if it goes. If there's a crash, it's pretty bad. And I tend to defer to Mark Blythe's judgment because he's brilliant. Doesn't sound good. And I'm pretty sure that UK exiting might, cause an unstable euro. You never know what's going to happen. And these are certain things that these people who are forecasting events never factor in. There's all sorts of things that can bloody happen. These forecasters never saw the 2008 financial crash coming, did they? So why should we believe them now when they say, oh, we're going to lose 15% GDP and whatever? We might. We might. We might not. We might lose 5. We might lose 10. We might. But whatever it is, at least, we've exited from a neoliberal construct that is pretty much ruining wages in this country and driving wages down through the floor. That's exactly what it's doing. Driving round your wages down through the floor so the EU and the efficient exporters and big capitalist companies can exploit their workers as much as possible and drive the wages down to Eastern European levels. And guess what? Hey, their goods are now competitive in the global market against China. Bad for workers, the EU is. You can see it plain as day. We've got to get out of it. And if we need to get out of it through a no deal, I think maybe that's the best, way forward. The problem is crap. What happens with Northern Ireland? But this is why I say that guy is such an utter twat. You would have thought that they would have thought of this back when they were giving the choice of a referendum, a yes-no referendum, without defining what no is, by the way. But you would have thought they'd thought of this. So, oh, what about Northern Ireland? What about the Good Friday Agreement? Don't worry about it. We'll propagandise the people and we'll tell them what to think and they'll vote to remain and we'll be in power. That's okay, Jack. You know, rolled the dice and backfired on them royally. Utter twat. It's the MPs, the ruling parties, the politicians, it's the establishment, it's the City of London, it's the bankers. They're the ones who were stopping progress. They're the ones who are getting in the way of it. These are the ones that have got to be gotten rid of. In the words of Monty Python, who did that great dead parrot sketch. And now for something completely different. That's what I want, don't you? Thanks for watching. Please make sure you're still subscribed and click the bell below for a notification of when I drop further videos. Also, click through to my website to find out ways which you can support me. I can't do this without your support, and I really appreciate it. Till next time, peace and take care.